Okay, so ready to dive into prepping for a microelectronics engineer interview.
Sounds good.
All right. It's a field where like tiny components make a huge EE impact, right?
Absolutely.
And we've got all these RoleCatcher resources, career guides, interview guides,
Mm-hmm.
even a look at their AI to kind of help us figure out
Yeah,
how to nail this thing.
it's going to be good.
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing how much microelectronics is in everything.
right.
I mean, it really impacts so many parts of our lives. Like
Yeah.
you think about it, smartphones, computers,
Oh, yeah.
even medical devices.
Yeah.
All that's powered by innovation in microelectronics.
It's crazy.
So,
Yeah.
as a microelectronics engineer, you're not just designing circuits.
Right.
You're shaping the future of technology.
You really are.
It's a pretty big deal.
I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing to think about all the possibilities.
Right.
But before we even get to like mapping out those complex circuits,
Yeah.
let's look at the interview questions that you're probably going to face.
Okay, good idea.
RoleCatcher has put together some really
Yeah.
common questions,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to like zero in on the ones that really tend to trip people up.
The tough ones.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're going to give you some insider tips on how to like really blow them away.
Yeah, you really want to stand out.
Yeah.
And, RoleCatcher's Career Guide has some good stuff about this.
Oh, yeah.
It highlights how tough the competition is in this field
Really?
because everybody wants those skilled engineers.
Right.
Everyone wants the innovation.
Yeah.
So it's a really sought-after area.
So you got to stand out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start with a question that seems easy but can actually be kind of tricky.
Okay.
What inspired you to pursue a career in microelectronics engineering?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you approach that?
I think this is your opportunity to really showcase your passion, tell your story.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, I like electronics,
Right.
think back to what made you interested. Like, what was that moment?
Yeah.
Was it a gadget you took apart when you were a kid?
Uh-huh.
Was it some project that just, captivated you? Or maybe you had a mentor who really inspired you?
Yeah.
The more specific you can be
Right.
and the more personal your story is, the more they're going to remember you.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be memorable.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Make a connection.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to a question that I think kind of makes people nervous.
Mm-hmm.
What are the most common challenges you face as a microelectronics engineer?
Oh, yeah.
Should you be honest or should you try to play it safe?
I think you've got to be honest,
Yeah.
but put a positive spin on it.
Okay.
Everybody has challenges in their work.
Right.
And what they're trying to do with this question is figure out, how do you solve problems?
Okay.
How resilient are you?
Yeah. Right.
And the career guide actually talks about this.
Oh, it does.
It points out that technology is always changing.
Right. It's constantly evolving.
So it's a challenge to stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
So you could talk about that. You
Right.
could talk about how you stay up to date. Maybe you take courses or go to conferences
Okay.
or read industry publications. So
Yeah.
that shows you're really committed to learning.
I like that.
Yeah.
Shows that you're constantly learning.
It's not standing still.
Right.
Exactly.
And speaking of keeping up with those advancements,
Yeah.
how can RoleCatcher's AI help us tailor answers to different jobs?
Oh, it's a really cool tool.
Yeah.
It can actually look at job descriptions and see what the employer is really looking for.
So,
What skills,
Yeah.
what experience.
Right.
So you plug in your info and the details about the job.
Yeah.
And it can even score your resume
Wow.
and tell you how to improve it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you can make sure you're highlighting the
Yeah.
most important parts of your background.
So you're really putting your best foot forward.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so helpful.
Especially when you're applying to a lot of different places,
Yeah.
it can really save you some time.
Okay, well, let's get back to the interview questions then.
Okay.
Question 3 gets a little more technical.
Okay.
How do you ensure your designs meet specifications and quality standards?
Oh, yeah. That's getting into the nitty-gritty.
This is where you got to really show off those technical muscles.
Got it. So
Yeah.
this is where you talk about those industry standards,
Like what?
i.e.
Okay,
ISO,
got it.
all the big ones.
Yeah.
But don't just throw those acronyms around.
Great.
You got to explain how you've used them in
Right.
work.
Okay.
So walk them through your process. How do you
Yeah.
do simulation?
Okay.
How do you test things?
Uh-huh.
How do you make sure everything's verified?
Yeah.
And then you want to point out how you find problems
Right.
before they become big issues.
So it's like being proactive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're showing them that you're thinking ahead.
So you don't just know the standards, you know how to use them
Exactly.
in real life.
That's what they want to know.
Okay, well, question 4 gets a little more like big picture.
Okay.
How do you approach designing complex microelectronic systems?
Right.
What's the best way to go about answering that one?
I think with this one, you really have to think big picture.
Okay.
You're not just like soldering pieces together.
Right.
You're building a whole system.
You're an architect.
You got it.
Yeah.
And the career guide talks about this too.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, it says you got to break down complexity
Okay.
into smaller chunks, manageable pieces.
Right.
You need a good system
Yeah.
for designing things.
Makes sense.
And you got to work well with other people.
Collaboration.
Yeah, teamwork is key.
Okay, so it's not just about like your individual skills. It's about being able to think strategically and work with a team.
Absolutely. That's really important.
And that kind of leads into question 5.
Okay.
How do you stay up to date with the latest developments?
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
It is.
You got to be ready for that one.
Yeah.
So with this one, you want to show that you're always learning.
Yeah.
Not just reading stuff, but like really applying it.
Okay.
So instead of just listing resources like IE journals
Right.
or online forums, talk about some specific things you've learned.
Okay.
Maybe you went to a conference and saw a presentation on a new technique.
Okay.
Tell them about that.
Yeah.
Why did that interest you? How did you use that in your work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe in a personal project
Okay.
that really shows your dedication
That makes sense.
and your passion.
It shows you're not just passively reading stuff.
Right.
You're actually doing something with it.
Oh, like that.
That's what they want to see.
Yeah, it's about taking action.
Exactly.
You're not just absorbing information.
Yeah, you're applying it.
Right. Awesome.
That's the key.
You got it.
Well, that was great.
Good stuff.
We covered a lot there,
We did.
but I feel like we just got started.
We're just getting warmed up.
All right, so let's take a quick break,
Okay, sounds good.
and then we'll come back and really dive into
Yeah.
the nitty-gritty of those technical questions.
Let's do it.
All right.
Sounds good. You're showing them you can take what you learn and put it into practice.
Exactly.
Okay, questions 6 through 9.
Come.
Those really get into the hands-on stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Design tools, manufacturability, testing, low-power design.
All right, so this is where we really get to,
Yeah.
show off our expertise.
Exactly.
So how can RoleCatcher's AI help us with these technical questions?
It can really help you focus your answers.
Okay.
It looks at what the job actually requires and tells you which tools and technologies are most important.
Okay.
It can even give you feedback.
On our answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is it specific enough?
Oh, okay.
Is it impactful?
That's cool.
Yeah. So, for example, if the job description wants someone who knows a certain software,
Yeah.
the AI might say, hey, tell them about a project where you use that software,
Oh, okay.
and how you got a good result.
So it's like having a coach to help you prepare.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So it takes the guesswork out of it.
So for these technical questions, any general advice?
Don't just list the tools you've used.
Right.
Tell them a story
Okay.
about how you used them to solve a real problem.
Okay, so a real world example?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the career guide actually has a great example.
It does.
Yeah, it talks about a project.
What was it?
It was a specific project from the career guide.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You could use that as inspiration,
Okay.
connect it to your own experience.
Right?
Did you run into any problems?
Yeah.
How'd you solve them?
Okay.
What did you learn?
Okay.
That kind of thing.
That's good advice.
Storytelling is so powerful.
It is. It makes it more interesting.
Yeah, and it helps them remember you.
Yeah, and they can see how you think.
Right, your problem-solving
Yeah,
skills.
exactly.
And don't forget to quantify your accomplishments.
What does that mean?
Use numbers.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I improved the design,
Yeah.
say, I reduced power consumption by 15%.
Oh, I see.
Or I increased the speed by 20%.
Okay.
Numbers make your claims stronger.
That's a good point.
They show the impact of your work.
Yeah, you can really see the results.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the technical stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but there's something else that's becoming really important.
What's that?
Sustainability.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
How can we bring that up in the interview?
It's a great way to show that you're aware of the bigger picture
Okay.
and that you're committed to responsible engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about your design process,
Yeah.
mention anything you do to reduce environmental impact.
Like what?
Maybe you choose energy efficient components,
Oh,
or you design for low power consumption,
What do you
things
mean?
like that.
So even if they don't ask about sustainability,
Yeah.
we can kind of weave it in.
Exactly. You
Okay.
can make it part of your story.
For example, when talking about low-power design,
Yeah.
you could say it's good for the environment, too.
Exactly.
Not just about saving energy.
It shows you're thinking about the whole picture.
Right, the bigger impact.
Yeah.
That's smart.
And a lot of companies are really focused on this now.
Yeah, they want to be more sustainable.
So it shows you're aligned with their values.
Okay.
Makes you a better candidate.
All right, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Prepare thoroughly.
Okay.
Use RoleCatcher's resources.
Right, the career guide, the interview guide.
The AI tools, all of it.
To practice your answers.
And get feedback.
Right, to see where you can improve.
You got it.
And storytelling is key.
Oh.
Tell those stories.
Make it memorable.
Yeah, use examples.
And use numbers to show your impact.
Quantify those accomplishments.
Exactly. And most importantly, be yourself.
Okay.
Let your passion shine through.
Yeah, be enthusiastic.
We're not just looking for a job.
Right.
You're starting a journey.
Oh, I like that.
To shape the future of technology.
That's powerful stuff.
It's exciting.
It is.
You can feel the energy.
Yeah, well, that's a great point.
Good stuff.
Now, before we move on,
Yeah.
let's leave our listeners with something to think about. Okay. Let's talk about the bigger picture for a minute.
Yeah.
The career guide mentioned sustainability.
Right.
It seems like that's becoming really important in microelectronics.
Absolutely. It's a huge shift.
So it's not just about making things smaller and faster anymore.
Nope. It's about the whole life cycle.
What do you mean?
Like, where do you get the materials?
Okay.
How are things manufactured?
Uh-huh.
How much energy do they use? And what happens to them when they're done?
Right. So it's like thinking about the whole process from start to finish.
And trying to make it as eco-friendly as possible.
That sounds like a pretty big challenge.
It is. It requires some really creative solutions.
So what excites you about this whole sustainability thing?
Well, for me, it's about using my skills to make a difference.
Okay.
You know, not just building cool gadgets,
right,
but actually making the world a better place.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's a really interesting design challenge.
How so?
Well, imagine you're designing a new processor for like a cutting edge device. How would you make it as sustainable as possible?
That's a good question.
Right.
Like you said, it's where creativity meets responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe you could use different materials.
Yeah. Maybe something with a lower carbon footprint.
Or you could push the limits of low-power design.
Yeah. Squeeze out every bit of performance.
But use as little energy as possible. That's cool.
It's a really exciting field to be in right now.
It sounds like it.
You're not just solving technical problems. You're helping to create a more sustainable future.
I like that.
And that's something you can talk about in your interview.
Oh, yeah, you mean?
Show them that you're not just a good engineer,
right,
but you're also someone who cares about the planet.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it makes you stand out.
Okay, so to sum it all up, when you're prepping for a microelectronics engineer interview, you want to show off your skills.
Absolutely.
Your passion for the field.
Yeah, be enthusiastic.
And your awareness of these big trends like sustainability.
Exactly.
And don't forget about those RoleCatcher resources.
Right. Use those tools to practice your answers.
And get feedback.
Yeah.
So you can really shine in that interview.
And remember, you're not just applying for a job.
Right.
You have the chance to shape the future.
That's inspiring stuff.
It's a pretty amazing opportunity.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
It was great chatting.
Yeah, this was fun.
Good luck with your interviews, everyone.
Yeah, go out there and make us proud.